Tonight's matchup between the Denver Nuggets and Minnesota Timberwolves feels like a playoff game. Get ready, Nugget Nation. Welcome into your Denver Sports Daily for April 10th. Let's go.
Taking you through your morning headlines, it's Denver Sports Daily with Rachel V. Hill.
Before we get into tonight's big matchup, we have to talk about last night. The Nuggets rocked the Jazz 111-90 fight, but in Salt Lake City, and that's only the second road win in Utah during the entire Michael Malone era. They are now 2-14 out there. Jamal Murray was having a day. It was just his second game back after missing 7 contests. He became the first Nugget ever to tally 4+ threes, 4+ steals, and 3+ blocks in a night as he scored 28, threw for 4 assists, and snagged 2 boards as well. The Nuggets are now 16-1 this year when he scores 25 or more in the game. Now, the Nuggets are 3 wins away from the franchise record, 58 wins. Can they pull it off? The season is coming to an end. Hopefully, they're able to. But tonight, Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves will return to the Mile High City. Right now, they own the tiebreaker against the Nuggets, but here's where it's really important. If the Nuggets are able to get the win tonight, then they are up a game on Minnesota, which ultimately would mean Minnesota would fall down and the Nuggets are in first. Can that happen? I have my fingers crossed because it would be so cool to have home court. Of course, they probably have to win out for the rest of the season as well, and things have to go their way. But hey, starting tonight with a win will be massive. Now, Anthony Edwards did talk on the showdown with Denver, and he says, I think everyone knows what is at stake. I don't need to talk about how big it is. Everybody knows. Fair. I'm excited about the game. It feels like a true playoffs. But then Nikola Jokic being Nikola Jokic, he goes on to say, I don't really think it's a big game. Yes, we're going to go out there and play to win the game, of course, but I think people are just making their stories that it's a big game. Hopefully it's going to be interesting. Totally different kind of outlook between Anthony Edwards and then Jokic for sure right there. But here's another thing, and we don't know if it's going to be tonight, but Karl Anthony Towns is expected to return in one of the team's final regular season games after recovering from a torn meniscus. That comes from Shams. Again, I don't know if that's going to be tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if he does not return tonight, but at some point he is going to return, and that just means that Minnesota and the T-Wolves, they get to be a lot better when he's out there. Colorado Avalanche last night, they beat the Minnesota Wild 5-2 and officially knocked them out of the playoffs. They hold on to the number 2 spot in the Central, and that game on Saturday against Winnipeg looks like it's going to be quite a big game. Jonathan Drouin hit 20 assists last night. Cale Makar hits 20 goals. Nathan McKinnon has his 3rd hat trick of the season and records 51 goals on the season as well. And he also has more points, get this, than the entire San Jose Sharks top line combined. And he spoke on the achievement last night after the game. Thanks to Guerrilla Sports. Take a listen.
Just hitting the 50-goal plateau, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it feels good. I never thought in my life I'd score 50. Honestly, I never really thought I would. It feels good. Obviously, a lot of amazing plays from everybody all season. A lot of empty nets. A lot of hard work from the whole lineup, and I think it's a team achievement. Honestly, it's a team sport, obviously, and it's tough to get there.
It has honestly been quite the honor as somebody who works in the sports industry to get to watch Nathan McKinnon day in and day out. He is an incredible athlete, and I know so many Colorado sports fans also feel that. But it's one of those things where I've talked about it a ton. I feel like we take it a little bit for granted. And just seeing Nathan McKinnon's demeanor, and you can actually tell, believe it or not, he didn't show a lot of emotion, but that was him showing a little bit of how much he actually does care about that. In a different clip on social media today, he talking about how much it means for him when he hears like the MVP chants going on down there at Ball Arena, and they are starting to get louder and louder and louder, and he should win the Hart Trophy. It would not surprise me one bit. Even, Spitting Chicklets host Paul Bissett went on and goes on to say essentially that, honestly, I think you need a brain transplant if you don't think the dog is the MVP. It's not only the numbers, but it's so beautiful to watch. He reached McDavid level. Hockey has 2 McDavids now. It's must-see TV every single night. And that's, to be honest, the complete truth when it comes down to watching Nathan McKinnon go out there. Do I think that the Avalanche are going to win the Stanley Cup this year? I don't know how to feel because I'm on the roller coaster with them every single night. Sometimes they look really solid. Other times they don't. Nathan McKinnon have to show up every single night for it to feel like they have a chance. But I'm taking it all in, and I hope you are too, Colorado sports fans. I hope you take in every single second of watching a Kale McCarr and Nathan McKinnon, or if you're a huge basketball fan, a Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, because the time is right now, and it is indeed so much fun. So huge shout out to Nathan McKinnon. Of course, even getting the hat trick and getting all the hats that are now going to be donated, but recording 50 points, 51 if we're including the extra one from last night, is a huge accomplishment. So congratulations. We will move on to the Denver Broncos, because they are starting to have a bunch more of their visits. So Memphis running back Blake Watson visited the Vikings on a pre-draft 30 visit yesterday, and now he is headed to Denver to visit with the Broncos. Watson produced 1,600 plus yards in 2023, averaged 6 yards per carry and 17 total touchdowns, and he ran a 4.3940. And Lato would fill the position at the Broncos, essentially looking for somebody on the edge. I definitely just butchered his name, but you know what? We just roll with it here. So he would be a huge add for them as well. And this was actually one of the top names that came out in the mock drafts really, really early on. And so he was one of those names. So it will definitely be interesting to see kind of how that goes. He visited with the Broncos recently as well. We don't have the exact date, but essentially good things right there for plenty of top 30 visits. Now, the current progress of the NFL draft stage in Detroit is out there. I'm so excited. I will actually be heading out to Detroit for the draft this year, hopefully for the Broncos. Whether they're going to move up, they're going to stay at number 12. I'm going to be there to give you all the ins and outs of what it's going to look like. So it's exciting to see that stage starting to be put up. Now, the exact same day as one of the NFL draft days, Coach Prime is going to be hosting the CU Spring Game. Of course, Lil Wayne's going to be performing, but guess what else? You can also have a chance to hang out with Coach Prime ahead of the game, because on Friday, April 26th, the night before the Spring Game, CU is hosting a big event. And if you want in, you're going to have to pay. Take a look at some of these wild prices, including more than $20,000 for a group of 8 to sit at Dion's table with him. I find that incredibly hard to believe. Don't get me wrong. Coach Prime is a huge name, and it would be so exciting to sit at a table, but $20,000 or $17,000 just to be in the same section as him feels a little outrageous, if we're going to put it that way. The Colorado Rockies, they ended up losing another game last night, 3-2 against the Diamondbacks. Of course, they will play them again today at 1:10 p.m. Maybe they'll be able to get a win. Honestly, anytime we see a W on any of these graphics, I take it as a win. So they've got one right there, obviously, from the 8th. NFL, back to it real quick, because the first ever regular season game in Brazil is set. Yes, indeed. It'll be the first time in more than 50 years an NFL game will be played on a Friday night of opening weekend. So here's a little overview for you. It's going to be Green Bay, and they will travel to Chicago on September 5th. Then they will do a overnight haul to San Pablo, land there at 9:30 a.m., which, by the way, is a 10.5-hour flight. So the total time will be 14 hours and 12 minutes just for them to get from Green Bay all the way to Brazil. And then on Saturday, September 7th, after the game, they will fly from Brazil to Houston, which is a 10-hour flight, and then Houston to Chicago, Chicago to Green Bay, which is a total travel time of 19 hours and 28 minutes. This is another reason I'm not a huge fan of all the over or international games, anything that has an overnight flight. I feel like it's a little harsh for players to have to do that. Of course, with it being on a Friday night, it definitely helps with the next week prep. But 19 hours and 28 minutes just to get back home, it's almost a full 24 hours, a full day. Just seems a little outrageous in my personal opinion. Will I love having football on a Friday night? Absolutely. Will it be fun? Yes. Will some college teams probably be a little pissed off because people will be watching the NFL and not any of the college games that might be going on? Absolutely. But it is what it is. Now, you have paid attention in the headlines. It's been a little bit since we heard about this one. And of course, I always like to have some random story or fun story. Now, I don't know if this is fun, but do we all remember the bank robber who made headlines as a Chiefs superfan? He's been ordered to pay more than $10 million to a bank teller he threatened at gunpoint. Again, it's not funny, but this is a story that kind of caught the entire nation by surprise when we heard about this. So 29-year-old Xavier Budico, who wore a wolf costume to Chiefs games, he was known as the Chief Saholic, is facing 50 years sentence to pleading guilty to multiple bank robberies. This week, an Oklahoma judge ordered Boudard to pay $10.8 million to bank teller Peyton Garcia, who quit her job due to the trauma suffered during the robbery. He won't be able to pay that money, essentially. Garcia's attorney goes on to say a verdict sent an important message. $10.8 million he's going to owe. And yes, I'm guarantee he will indeed be going to jail for quite a long time. So again, it's not one of those funny stories because the unfortunate circumstances, but it did catch the entire nation by hand when we all heard about this Chiefs fan who was dressed in a wolf costume and he goes on to do all of these terrible things. So it is it's an interesting story. One I think we will probably all never forget. But yeah, $10.8 million and 50 years in prison doesn't exactly sound like a fun time by any means. I always love looking at your guys' comments. I tell you this every single time. I love, honestly, how there's so many comments today about Nathan McKinnon and the Avalanche. Nate the Great, yes, he is. Nate the Great, we love to see it. What Nate did last night was unbelievable. Just give him the Hart Trophy. Now he has to win the Hart. If he doesn't, I don't even know what we're talking about. I felt that way about Jokic, though, so who knows what can be happen. To be completely honest, a Nuggets win would be so crazy. I agree. I'm a little nervous about tonight's game. I think it would be absolutely incredible to see them be able to pull it off. I have my fingers crossed. How nice would it be to have home court advantage throughout at least the first 2 rounds of the playoffs? That would be great for Nuggets Nation. It would be great for so many of us. Plus for Jokic, Jamal, ACP, all of those guys to be able to just stay home for a little bit extra. I would love that for sure. So fingers crossed that they're able to pull out a win. I do think it's going to be a tough battle, which is why I'm saying it's going to be like a playoff game tonight. We'll get to one more. McKinnon does not need to be compared to McDavid. McKinnon is engraved on the Stanley Cup. I like this comment a lot. Nathan McKinnon has accomplished so much, obviously, in his time. And it is a little bit of a disrespect thing, in my personal opinion, when we do see that, like, the comparison between McDavid and McKinnon. They're very, I get it. They both accomplished so much, but there is a lot, I don't know, there's a lot different about them too. And McDavid, don't get me wrong, he's still a part of this. It's different than Nathan McKinnon being talked about, compared to Wayne Gretzky, right? Wayne Gretzky's career is over. David is still playing. So I feel like the comparison, I'm not a huge fan of, because Nathan McKinnon, he's just out of this world. Today on Coffee Break, we're going to do a little bit of a different episode. So put in any comments right now that you want to know. I'm going to do a solo episode on all of the top secrets of working in sports. I was at Rocky's opening day, and the amount of people that I had come up to me and asking me a bunch of questions that I feel like were very similar and just stuff people want to know about actually working in the industry. I want to share them with all of you guys. I feel like it'll be a fun episode. We will talk a little bit about Nathan McKinnon, of course, and then the Nuggets game tonight as well. So it's going to be a fun episode. Just a solo episode, me, a mic, and talking to give you guys a little inside peek of what it's actually like to work on this side of the camera. I love hanging out with you guys every single morning. Thank you for tuning in to your Denver Sports Daily, and we will see you at 12 p.m. for Coffee Break. Get back to work, everybody. Bye.